Never get sick of those incredible anime intros. We are here in day 3 of the Proving Grounds presented by Verizon. And TJ,
Mm-hmm.
you have my background but brighter. Where?
That's because I'm in the real dimension, Matt Niberia Clendaniel.
Oh,
Welcome to Proving Grounds. It's, like you said, a tournament arc, and only one of us is in the real reality.
I don't like being in the Shadow Realm, TJ. I know what happens. In the Japanese version, they're dead. I don't want that. I don't want that at all.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought we would get more than 30 seconds in without a full Shadow Realm Yu-Gi-Oh reference, Matt. Let's
I
talk
usually
about today's
try
games.
to save it.
Because I'm really excited for what we've got ahead of us today.
Yeah, me too. But, I mean, before that, we do need to talk about yesterday's games. Day number 2, we had Zeus versus TSM and 100 Thieves versus CLG, which were two really cool series, especially for me. The first series, which was Zoo versus TSM. Incredible. We get to see Zeus take down yet another Academy team.
Yeah, so for anyone who needs background on their logo, Matt and I were casting a tournament called Challengers Uprising, which was one of the, early qualifying tournaments for the Proving Grounds qualifiers. And they didn't have a logo. So our graphic designer was like, fine, I'll make them something so ugly they won't want to use it. And we'll slot it in there. And yesterday, Zeus slotted into the next round of the playoffs with that logo as they took down our first Academy team. The first Academy team to lose to an amateur team here at Proving Grounds proper. But Matt, I'm 100% sure they'll have company soon.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited for this, especially that series yesterday. My big highlight was, of course, a little bit of a Lorem action. And in the second series, we had 100 Thieves taking on CLG, where we got some really cool picks as well. We've seen Nocturne played in both top and mid yesterday alone, so I'm really excited for that because I've been trying him out in solo queue a lot. Really cool, really flexible, and it was demonstrated to great potential yesterday.
Yeah, it really was the day of the supports. You really had Pocket Rhino popping off. Then in this game, it felt like a battle between the two bot lanes. It was either Katsuri popping off alongside Hooks or Poom and Luger. Luger pretty much dominated during Game 3 as, after a close fought series, 100 Thieves decided they were quite over it being close and kind of shattered that Game 3.
Yeah, one of the things that didn't make it into this clip reel that I was just giggling about incessantly yesterday was there was one point where there was a spear coming out from Kenvi that, no joke, like all but one-shot Katsuri. Double-digit HP left over after that. But of course, this is the results of yesterday. Would be 2-1. Both series, Zeus and 100 Thieves going forward. They're going to meet in round 2. That is next week. C9 Academy versus Zeus and EG Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy.
I'm really disappointed that they didn't have that Baron take that just took a minute straight, whereas CLG were thinking they could do it. Later on today, we're going to be broadcasting the bottom half of this bracket. You can see that we have Dignitas Academy versus Wildcard on the docket today, as well as Golden Guardians Academy playing off in our second match of the day.
Yeah, versus Noorg, who are another one of those teams, Zeus's former sister team as well, that are known for taking names in the Academy brackets and taking them away. So these are really cool Academy teams, or amateur teams rather, coming up, and especially today, because our first game is going to be Dignitas versus Wildcard.
Yeah, Dignitas, I think I think this is going to be one of the closer Academy versus amateur games. There are obviously some games where you're looking at the two teams facing off and you're like, oh, this Academy team is obviously going to wipe the floor. And there are some games where I'm looking at the bracket and I'm saying, oh, this amateur team is going to wipe the floor. But this one, I think, is going to go all the way down to the wire, and a big reason is down in the bot lane, where now we've got the rosters on screen. You can see them facing off. Spawn for Dignitas versus Team Luke for Wildcard.
Yeah, Team Luke has been one of those carries for Wildcard that has been looked at as a really good prospect down in amateur and has carried a few games here and there and has gotten a lot more consistent over the season. So I'm looking forward to the matchup specifically against JJ. I know that sounds a little bit weird, AD carry versus support, but JJ I want to highlight because looking back at those Thresh games, every single one, JJ finds these crazy hooks, these fantastic lantern plays, and that's kind of what I want to see a little bit more of going forward into today's series.
Yeah, and it does feel like the power maybe is in different places because Spawn, kind of on a very similar line to Daption, is a very, very consistent player, but he's not necessarily going to be making anything terribly exciting happening on his own. He's letting JJ find those initiations, and Spawn is going to be there, consistent, as a threat, as a player, certainly to watch out for. This is one of his first Academy seasons, but this is going to be a development look for Spawn, I think, and we're looking to see him go beyond this stable carry he is now. Before we get into Champion Select, which I'm being told is very shortly on the way, I also want to talk about the top half of the map because we do have Quacker taking on Lorlo, and Matt, that should be a banger.
Oh yeah, I've been looking at the Lorlo games, and he is just a rock up there in the top lane for Dignitas, and it really doesn't matter whether he's weak side, strong side, he is going to come out and perform, and I want to see Quacker go up against him because that is... hell of a matchup to see.
Because, sure, yeah, Lorlo's gonna perform. Lorlo's gonna show up. Quacker has never seen a fight he will not take. Quacker will look at a 1v2, any 1v2, you name the 1v2, and take it with a 50-50 chance of winning it. So, I think there's going to be a very distinct difference in playstyle between the kind of fiery, aggressive look from Quacker and the consistency out of Lorlo that we also need to keep our eye on.
Well, we got Champion Select coming up to see exactly how these teams are going to adapt coming into this. And I do want to say, TJ, I apologize. You may have noticed I'm a little bit nervous, but I haven't been a part of anything powered by Verizon that isn't my house. So, a little bit out of my comfort zone here.
Is your house a sponsor plug?
I don't know. It's really good internet. I didn't intend it to be a sponsor plug, but really, I get gigabit internet, so it's pretty nice.
Playing the long game there. That's pretty cool. All right, let's talk about this ban phase. That Darius, you will have spotted right away, is a Quacker target ban. This is what I meant when I say Quacker is really fun. He draws bans on the Darius and the Shen, which hasn't been banned out here, so maybe look for a Shen to show up. You also get a Twisted Fate, and of course the Seraphine banned away by Dignitas Academy. On the opposite side, Wildcard have taken out the Lilia, targeting Acadian, who was one of the consistent threats over on Dignitas, as well as the Thresh, taking it away from JJ, who, as you talked about, is insane, and they have to take away the Rel. There was some thought, because this leaves picks like the Tristana, like the Hecarim in the pool, but they decide it's more important to get rid of JJ's powerhouse pick on the Rel.
I want to talk about Quacker a little bit more because he's one of my favorite kind of players in terms of champion pools where it's like, yeah, I'm really good at two champions. Darius, all about the all-ins, and Shen, all about never fighting post-6.
You haven't seen his Shen. So his Shen all about the all-ins sometimes. It's kind of wild. He's been looking really good this tournament on Renekton, so expect that to slide through if Wildcard are left late in the pool with options for the top lane. We do get the two champions I called out, Matt. Hecarim, then Tristana. Hecarim, then Tristana. Coming through in the first cycle. Wildcard, I'd like to see them focus on either their mid or jungle here, as I think those are the two roles that really benefit most from this prioritization. I would be looking for an Udyr, and we get one. I need to say things faster, Matt.
Yeah, just shout out names.
Udyr.
Kaisa.
That's good.
Aphelios. Galio.
That's good.
All right, if any of those happen, I'll be great. But yeah, it's Udyr versus Hecarim. This is like the tier 1 jungle matchup. If you don't get one, you pick up the other. Happy times.
Okay.
I forgot to say Gnar. Of all the champion names I shouted, it wasn't Gnar, who's been like massively picked every single game of every single turn. I got a Kaisa.
Gnar goes through in the top lane. Maybe that Gnar Renekton matchup, we've seen a fair amount from Quacker. He will pick Renekton into that. We do get a Kaisa, as you say, so now I'm paying attention to the supports. I think Wildcard, if they choose to pick a support here and then ban away further from JJ's pool, that might be worthwhile for them. But they could also draw attention towards Xeno, who has looked very good in the mid lane for them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Wildcard will pull out here, mostly just to see what the response is from JJ. So it's going to be an Alistar, which is a great segue into my point I was going to make about JJ. I think that Dignitas Academy looks the best when they have JJ on an engaged support. Like, yeah, that Thresh is really cool, but it doesn't provide a ton of hard engage. You got one hook, not exactly a great team fight starter. But when Dignitas have something like a Rel or an Alistar to materialize around, their team fights go a hell of a lot better. Now that they've been denied that with the Rel and Thresh and Alistar either being banned or taken away, I'm wondering what Dignitas' response is going to be as a result. And the Nautilus is gone too.
Yeah, so this is what I called out for Wildcard. They know that JJ is a huge threat here, so they are going to focus on those bans during this phase. With the Rel, with the Thresh already removed from the pool, the number of supports that are considered super viable is dwindling. The problem, as I know you're thinking in your head, Matt, is that JJ does have a wild pool. You referenced Galio earlier. JJ's been playing a fair amount of that. He's got other enchanters he'll pull out. So even if it's not like Leona, Kai'Sa would be fairly obvious to me here. But even if we don't get a traditional tank frontline, he does have the Galio he can pull out. He does have other things that could see the light of day.
Yeah, I'm also wondering about what Yasui is going to pick up, because Yasui is one of those players that really loves those aggressive assassins, things like Yone he'll pick up even. He's played Aurelia mid, stuff like that. But the times that I've seen Dignitas Academy be most successful by playing through Yasui is when he's on things that can set up for his team. So I really am hoping he gets to play something like Silas, something that has CC, something that can either steal away engage or make an engage of his own.
Yeah, I think the Silas would be a lot of fun for Yasui, but they obviously want to save that. Ooh, the Galio ban. For the second cycle.
Real rough for JJ. I'm feeling it.
Okay, so there's that Renekton I called out. They are saving for that matchup, like we were talking about for Yasui. They are saving that all the way for the very, very end. They want to be able to get counter pick for Xeno versus Yasui, which is going to make Dignitas, you know, their lives that much harder. I do want to call out that Xayah ban in the second phase. That makes me think they thought this Tristana was maybe going mid, which is very possible. I believe it has been run previously by Wildcard, but it isn't obviously what I was reading the draft as. There is your Silas, you're a genius, and the Gragas, which is one of the off-meta picks JJ likes that I didn't call out. He does like Galio and Gragas, that sort, so still against their engaged tank. That Tristana will, in fact, by the looks of things, be heading towards the bottom lane. And it will be a safe control mage here. This is a very good draft for Wildcard in terms of setting up an Orianna or any other control mage. Orianna works particularly well with the Alistar, with the Renekton, obviously. But you do have just a really solid front line, and the Tristana can be that backline threat once she scales up. So what you were really looking for is sustained damage in the team fights. And the Orianna can provide that. I would say overall, I do like Dignitas better, because they should have access past that front line between the Hecarim and the Gnar if Lorlo can get his flanks off. But a lot of that is going to come down to the laning phase. It's going to come down to the early advantages that Team Luke can earn on that Tristana especially.
I mean, I think all of Wildcard really wants to run through in this early game, try and get a lead going, because that Renekton, if it can get an early lead, that's what it's really designed for, but can just run through teams, run through the map, creating chaos, even in team fights. And I think that's the X factor that Wildcard are going to need to pull this one out, because otherwise, Dig Academy have a hell of a team fight, a hell of a scaling composition.
And one thing that we haven't talked about that we ought to, I know it's the most boring matchup here, at least on paper, because it is Udyr v Hecarim is the jungle matchup. Both these junglers obviously have a history of being very aggressive. Panda, if he gets started early, will just deny everything from an enemy jungle. And I'm really paying attention to that as we head into game.
All right, TJ. Game one of day 3. Let's get going.
Did you see me be like in the game and then the stinger flew?
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice. I'm not going to lie.
I'm really proud of that.
You should be. No level 1 craziness. This is a problem I have with North America right now. The higher you go in terms of prestige of the tournament, the less crazy the level 1s are. Like in some of those tier 2s, it was like, you know what? We could all just die level 1. Does that sound good? Everyone agree? Handshake? All right, let's go.
But as the tournament season has gone on and people have been playing for, you know, Proving Grounds, I don't know, for some reason people are less willing to go for things, to gamble.
It's crazy. Playing 5-point starts.
Wildcard. Will be dismaying you, Matt. Neither team really has an advantage in the early invades either, so, you know. Might make sense. Everything starts slow here.
I'm liking Yusui's very optimistic start with the Dark Seal. I love anytime a mid laner starts Dark Seal because it's like, we both know what I'm trying to do here. You either call me on it or you go down, you become a stack. You're either a stack or a champion this game. We decide right now, 1v1 me mid.
Yusui laying down the law, at least in theory. Here's Quacker. I told you it was a bit of a nutcase, taking advantage of his early levels. Pushing in on Lorlo. So those are my 2 lanes to watch. Yusui has just added a 3rd lane, so now we're just watching League of Legends. But until then, I was going to talk about the top and bottom lane as the 2 lanes you really needed to pay attention to during these early game engagements. If Team Luke can get an advantage, that's important.
Oh my god. Yusui, you're a monster. Goes in for the engage. Doesn't find the kill, but really looking for it. Sets the tone of the lane, if nothing else.
I think that was actually probably a positive trade for Zeno.
I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah.
He burned his refillable pot, so... Potions on either side. Zeno's the one who opts into TPing back to lane. He's just backed, and this is very good timing, because if you're watching the minimap, you would have noticed that Acadian has just showed up. Uh-oh.
Oh, Acadian, you monster. There's the knockback, the re-engage. Yusui, can you find it? Through the minions. No! Flash away from Zeno. Very well played. Oh my god, Yusui, even better played. First blood with the flash.
Matt, he's a stack. He's 2 stacks, baby. That Dark Seal is off to an incredible start for Yusui, as Acadian just sits in the bush, waiting. And Zeno backed. I thought he was going to get denied. I thought their entire game plan was going to go awry, but then Zeno TP's 2 wave, middle of the lane, actually right as Acadian was about to walk away. And Acadian's like, oh, what's this?
Well, it's such a good plan from Dignitas. You have the mid laner and the jungler. Well, the jungler was hiding the whole time, but you have the mid laner back after Zeno backs. It's like, okay, I'm safe to TP back the lane. There's nothing scary here for me. Then the immediate assassination in there.
You did see on the map there, Panda kind of roaming down towards the bottom lane as if to set something up, but nothing came of it. Now he's up here on the top side.
Lorlo has Mega R plus a ward. The flash in from Panda, very aggressive. Acadian is rotating up in towards that river. Lorlo just flashes over the wall to safety.
No, thank you. And here's Zeno in trouble in the mid lane as Acadian will show up. That's going to be a full shove in. Zeno is pinned. There's just no way out with Flash already burned. And a 2nd kill in the mid lane. And a 3rd stack over to Yusui.
So, shoutouts to Yusui and Acadian for the best early game plan of all time. Hey, let's just bully Zeno. See how many points we can get.
Yeah,
Yusui,
really rough
anime
times.
protagonist.
Really rough times for Zeno. And as you say, a lot of early gold onto Yusui. Zeno's been kind of a very, very stable player for Wildcard that allows his team to pivot around him. Oftentimes on the scaling, control mages, oftentimes playing, you know, your Aziras, your Syndras, and letting kind of Quacker and Team Luke build the early game leads. But that doesn't work nearly as well if that center point literally on the map is knocked out of the game early.
The other thing, too, is for Wildcard, this kind of inadvertently slows down what Panda can get done across the map. You really can't try and set that tempo ahead mid. All you can kind of do is try and even it up, find some vision or an invasion as it is here.
Yeah, support jungle, V support jungle, Yusui roaming down as well. Panda will walk away. They'll get a control warrant, and that's the real victory over the Wildcard. As they are now at a quite significant gold deficit going into this Dragon, so they'd like to, find something.
Oh, I'm loving the scrappiness coming out here. Unfortunately, that would not be the scuttle denied there by Dignitas, so Wildcard picked that one up. We'll have vision if Acadian does want to start this up. Looks like, at the very least, curious about it. Figuring some
Dragon
things out.
curious. We'll pick it up. Here comes Panda around the side. Daption in trouble at the very front. Pulverize away. Team Luke into the front of the fight. Acadian knocked down to half HP as this bomb explodes, and Panda's just going for a man.
Panda running away now. There's the re-engage from JJ.
Ooh.
Flash forward from Spawn, finds the kill. There's the re-engage. Poor Xeno gets shockwaved by Yasui, and that is the third death for the Wildcard mid laner at the hands of Yasui.
5 stacks, Matt. And Quacker's decided it's time to go back to lane.
It's Sesame Street, baby. Yasui's teaching us how to count today.
Yeah, so this is, I think, a really nice theoretical engage, especially once Team Luke gets all this damage. But there's a roam coming this entire time down the river, and Wildcard know about it because they do have their mid laner, Xeno, following Yasui down the river. So they really ought not to have re-engaged like Panda did, in my opinion. They go for it. They're feeling maybe a little bit desperate because of this lack of early game success. Panda dives deep for the kill, goes down, and then they lose Xeno as well because now, of course, there's no possible way to back him up.
Really, really strong early game here from Dignitas. Looks like Wildcard want to try something up here in the top lane and try and fight it back. We'll see how Lorlo does in a 1 versus 3.
Dive in. Poor Lorlo. All alone behind the turret, will go down. Very easy stuff for Quacker, and finally Wildcard are able to get something on the board. Fun fact, that brings the gold relatively even, as despite all of the kills that have been going over, they have been winning in multiple lanes with a devastating CS advantage. That is, the jungle matchup and the top matchup, though the former of those is closing right now. As you can see, Acadian is done ganking, and he's right back to jungling.
Really well done by Acadian, knowing that there's no way Panda's going to be down here to respond in time. So I think what Wildcard did was essentially their only play left. They need to be playing through Quacker. Only one with a lead in lane. Bot lane is going to scale up eventually. As long as Luke isn't like forced out of the game, you're good on that. You're going to need Quacker to find ways through this game for you. Find those team fights, find those engages, find those leads. But meanwhile, Dignitas have just been super zoned in on this Dragon. They will finally be able to secure it. First Dragon of the game at 9 minutes in.
Yeah, I think at least getting an early Dragon is really important. Dignitas obviously want to be able to boost in through the mid-game. They want to be winning during that mid-game phase with this composition. So getting an early Dragon is doubly important for them. But if I'm Wildcard, I'm looking at, okay, how do we make sure they can't just 4 Drake us? Can we sneak a Drake in and just extend this game? Because I feel as though that is the tempo they have established, unless, as you say, Quacker is able to do something very impactful in the next couple of moments.
Yeah, I'm looking at Yasui in terms of how long Wildcard have, and I know that's a little bit weird, but if Yasui can snowball this super well, it's just going to be death after death after death, and Wildcard won't find a way back.
I do want to flag that the Rift Herald was picked up by Panda, so they do have an extra bit of gold to throw into any lane, get some turn plates. We'll see where they decide to throw that. That was immediately after the top lane gank. I believe we were in a replay when it happened, but good stuff.
I do want to point out for Yasui here, I have a running theory about this tier. So, meanwhile, okay, Lorlo got out. I'm fine. We've seen a lot of tiers picked up throughout the season, but oh my god! All right, they're gonna go do their thing top. Wildcard coming up. I'll talk about the tier later. I promise. I won't shut up.
All right, I'll call you on it. Daption roams all the way up here to the top lane. That is, I believe, being matched across the map. Gragas coming up here as well as Lorlo starts this off. Panda's just dead.
Acadian goes in, finds that first kill. Quacker in a little bit of trouble as now the ace in the hole potentially for Wildcard is taken down in the top lane. Maybe finds a return kill, does not. JJ finishes that one off, and Lorlo survives with a sliver of health.
Quacker with such good movement there actually almost turns the fight, which is something you... Daption, what is this?
Daption, why? No!
There is ult. Doesn't look like JJ has explosive casks, so it's all ready for them to do something stupid, but I suppose you don't really want to get the Alistair behind you near the turret.
Yeah. And Daption's on level 5.
Yeah. So, anyway, very fancy footwork here. I want to call it out, but even fancier footwork from Lorlo, who just spots an opportunity, says, hold up, I can just end this gank right away. Acadian comes in, Panda's 1 HP, dies to the turret, and it's just down to what Quacker can do in the meantime. Watch this flash over the wall.
Yeah, it's really clean. If Lorlo hadn't been there. Hell, if JJ hadn't been there on the flank. Like, that was about as well as you could have played that if you're Quacker.
All right, tell me about the tier.
Okay, so we've been seeing a lot of mid laners, especially in pro play, go for a Muramana. This is something we haven't seen pop up in solo queue, which was really confusing me, even from some of the pros. But I think the reason for it is that in pro play, you can usually bet on a slower, more scaling game. Your team's not going to get blown out, and if they're going to get blown out in 20 minutes anyways, your build is not going to be the thing that saves you. So what it gives you instead is a ton of single target damage on these mid lane mages that want the burst. So things like this Sylas are the perfect target for a Muramana.
Oh no. There's a hacker waiting for that TP.
Yeah, anytime we see Xeno TP, we're looking for a horse.
Yeah, I saw a horse, Matt. It was on the map, but it was right behind him. But that horse will be heading towards the bot lane, where Luke needs to receive it.
There we go. Cadian looking for it. Has the ultimate available, but will not dive under tower for it. Probably the smartest move there.
Yeah, Dignitas don't really need to force anything. They have objective control right now. And they should maintain objective dominance, because of course they do have a pretty massive lead, except for this top lane, where Quacker, as predicted, is nuts.
Panda looking for the 1v1 against Lorlo. I'm always surprised at how much damage the tank Udyr does. Oh no, Luke in trouble. Beautiful from Yasui.
Yeah, interrupting the rocket jump, but Yasui still does, or still takes enough damage from Team Luke. Then won't get the kill, won't get anything more. And actually, Xeno's kind of stepping up there and looking for something. They know Spawn is otherwise occupied. And will complete a turret for turret trade across the map. As Spawn gets the bot one, Quacker got one up top.
And look at this bottom lane lead. We were talking earlier about how really for Wildcard it's all on Team Luke in the scaling game. But been stuck behind 35 CS because of all the action around the map.
Drake is coming up. This is the second of the gun. Dignitas do have complete river control at this time, and should be able to scoop it up.
Did get spotted on it, I believe, through that ward, but doesn't really matter all that much. Turns out when Wildcard can't do anything about it, taking away the Drake, no problem.
Yeah, that does mean that there's like a setup here for the second Rift Herald happening. I don't think that will change the game state, but it does look like it's going to go over to Panda. What do we decide with this?
From Yasui. Did you see that?
Was this was Sheldon or?
This is Geraldo.
Geraldo.
Jackson in trouble on the engage. There's Acadian looking for a little bit more. More fishing than anything, it feels like. Good cast from JJ, though. Turns that into a full catch and kill. There's the ultimate out from Acadian. Dive into the back line, but won't be able to lock any of them down any more than that. There's the dash from Xeno. Doesn't really need the assistance. Spawn dives forward with the killer instinct. Quacker in trouble. 1v3 at this point. Acadian dives down. Lorlo finds the kill. Dignitas now 9-1 over Wildcard.
And it puts a nail in Quacker, which is very, very important for Dignitas, as Quacker was kind of the only lane that looked like anything was happening. Quacker is now solidly behind as Lorlo picks things up. And this is a very good case for Dignitas. They're coming into this game strong.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit bad for Wildcard here because it is so much harder to execute when you have no lanes ahead at this point. You
Yeah,
have to
I
focus
mean,
on picks. You have to focus on capitalizing on mistakes.
right. This is failing. Right, I'm going to pay attention here because this was an interesting play they tried to make. Daption coming out with the Hex Flash, misses the Pulverize though. And after that happens, there just isn't a world in which that works, especially because Wildcard have kind of been out-rotated. Dignitas do have resources coming in. But what I wanted to talk about was this is absolutely a game, like you said, where Wildcard's only path back into it is Dignitas make a horrific mistake. Assuming Dignitas don't, we're talking next game already. We're talking game 2. And I think that's a very good sign for Dignitas. You know, I was talking this game up as one that might be close. That was because we don't really have a good metric for where Wildcard are at. We know they looked good versus the Academy teams they played, but Dignitas finished 4th in Academy.
Acadian looking for another engage, very thirsty. And yeah, to your point, I mean, we really haven't seen Wildcard since UGP. We don't know what they're looking like nowadays. Still good, but Dignitas are putting on a clinic right now. There's the re-engage into the backline. Cast to follow it up from JJ. A little bit desynced there, so Dignitas will have to disengage.
Yeah, a little bit desynced, and I almost would have liked to see if Quacker could have made anything, but I think they're just kind of stat-checked in the firefights now, even with a ability advantage, which they did have there, as Dignitas wasted a couple of their major ultimates. Instead, they'll try and force something onto Lorlo, who flashes over the wall to stay ahead of the shockwave, and a very good escape. Wildcard don't find anything across the map.
It looked like Luke just overestimated his damage and blew the ultimate a little bit early. Then the shockwave missed as a result, so perhaps feeling the pressure of game number 1 here. They will get
not
used
a
to
flash?
this Rift Herald. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Yeah, full entrance in from Acadian. The onslaught of shadows will land, and Daption suddenly is down a mid laner yet again. Xeno has just been popped. Here comes the mid turret. Dignitas rolling through, but not going to be distracted from Panda's insurrection in the backlines. What are you doing?
Running, currently, TJ. Going to be knocked away from the last lane, then stunned into the wall. They're all coming with you, Panda.
He brings an entire party over the wall. And status report that was not any easier to escape on the other side of the wall. He thought maybe the 1v3 would be winnable if it was in the lane as opposed to in the jungle. It was not any better.
It kind of felt like Panda was the little brother of one of the players on Dignitas and was like showing his friends around like, come on guys, you want to see my bot lane? Look, we're going to take my blast plan over.
Check this
Feels
out.
really bad. They weren't friendly. They bullied him.
Yeah, well, you know. Your older brother's friends.
Never a good bet.
Yeah. We do have the objectives coming up soon. Drake in just 15 seconds. As Wildcard are looking for table scraps, man.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what their next play is proactively, because the last one they were really able to execute on was that Rift Herald take. They did retrieve the second Rift Herald and only found mid-tier 1 off of it, which is something, but this is now going to be sole point for Dignitas if they are able to pick up this Infernal Drake. It's up right now and they're pushing mid, so they are going to try and rotate for it. Wildcard instead looking for Yusui.
Yeah, okay. So they're taking advantage of the focus. They're trying to get a kill. Panda will go in, stays ahead of the root. Yusui, though, with a flash away. Shockwave pulls him back in. There's the pulverize.
Oh
Yusui's still alive, steals the Alistair ultimate, but will finally go down. And it is a much-needed pickup for Xeno. And guess what? All those stacks are gone.
Rough. Back to 1. Okay, so there's still some stacks, TJ. We have to be fair here.
Dark sealed. Past tense.
Unfortunately for me, it doesn't look like it's going to be a second item Muramana. I do wonder, because it's like a 50-50 chance between whether the pros convert it to the Muramana. So not yet. It'd be Cosmic Drive instead in the meantime.
Sad times.
I know, I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, because we've seen it picked up on like Ari as well. I'm still not sure if I like it. Like, I think it's cool, but
I randomly had an Ari in my games the other day that was just demolishing me. I don't know. Maybe I should reevaluate my opinions. We do have a Baron on the map now. Speaking of reevaluating your opinions, I don't know, I didn't think that segued through, because Dignitas are still in control of this game. You know, maybe you're talking about Wildcard through the Tristana. I think that's, if you're really kind of stretching here. You're saying, okay, maybe Team Luke can do something, maybe they can lock down an objective steal with the Tristana damage. But I'm not going to pretend it's likely.
Yeah. We'll note Quacker going for an incredibly offensive build here. Stridebreaker into Blade of the Ruin King, just praying for kills. Which is what you've got to do. I mean, you're the one with the most gold on your team. You're the one that's the most fed. So, you gotta try and find something with those picks, essentially. No luck yet for Wildcard, though.
Do it, Panda. He's just in the bush.
He's scouting.
Yeah, get the Gragas.
I don't know about that, Chief. JJ goes in for the disengage.
Yeah, there was not a world in which anything good happens there. I think that's about the best possible result.
Yeah.
Runs in to tag the support after he sees the damage carriers run past. Did get away with it. He ran. Yeah. He stunned. His job was done, man.
Oh, I thought you were going for like he ran, he stunned, he conquered.
No, he did not conquer.
No, yeah, I was going to say, I really much disagree with that assessment, so I'm glad you changed it.
I don't think he even procced Phase Rush.
No. Just like, bam, I'm here. See ya.
Hey, you know, keep the morale up. Because
Exactly.
This is looking like a Game 2, baby. Which does happen. We've had a number of series over the course of Proving Grounds where Game 1 looks awfully one-sided. Sometimes you just have a rough start. Don't want to count Wildcard out of this gap.
Wildcard know what their successful key was.
No.
Oh no,
Oh,
but so
dear.
did Dignitas. Zeno, beautiful Everfrost.
Beautiful Everfrost, and forces the ult defensively as well. Daption comes in, pulverized right off the start. Panda through here as well.
Shut down.
Arcadian is gone. Now Everfrost from Yusui goes wide, and Panda can keep going. They still don't have spawn, but he's not got any access to this fight, as it is a double kill to Panda, and they are still going, Matt.
Come on, Quacker, you can do it. Charge it. Aw. All right, Panda's going around the side still. Daption's chasing as well. Lorlo, out of nowhere. But Wildcard win a fight. They finally found a proactive play. They punished the movement from Dignitas down into that bottom lane, initially trying to catch Yusui, but instead just found the entire team and said, we got this. Zeno finds the greatest Everfrost I've ever seen and saves their skin. Oh yeah.
Just able to stop Acadian in their tracks, and all of a sudden they absolutely do get a player advantage on the map, get a turret as a result. And we'll see if they can turn that injection of gold into anything. Because Wildcard, despite the first, I'm checking my watch, 24 minutes of this game, are only at a 2,000 gold deficit, which is kind of remarkable. So if Wildcard are able to recover here and contest this dragon, which is Dragon's Soul, or trade it for a Baron, there is hope.
God, that Everfrost was so clean. And then Acadian with the canceling from the Unstoppable there.
Mm-hmm. Daption finds a really good engage here as well, and Panda is just on it. They're in the front lines. These stuns aren't the job done, man. He's got to get the blood as well. Beautifully done. Here is what it needs to turn into, though. Dignitas, having lost the fight, are going to redouble their efforts around this Drake. They want the Infernal Soul, and that would be game deciding.
Yep. Wildcard looking for the engage now. Daption thinks he sees the angle. Ooh. Panda with the flash in. There's the follow-up with the shockwave. Golden goes spawn. Very low on HP. Killer Instinct's out. Beautiful ultimate into the backlines. Wildcard still hanging on. Lorlo, nobody has died yet this entire fight. And Wildcard may have just forced Dignitas off.
Spawn is still alive on a sliver of HP though. So, Acadian comes around the bend and forces the attack. Yusui in first. Zeno kites away. Daption intercepts. Very, very low, but still alive. And Yusui's gone. That is a massive kill for Quacker, but he goes down in trade, and here comes the TP. It is Lorlo back from base, and that will decide everything, unless Panda can do something miraculous.
Gotta look for it, but no, the shutdown comes out from Lorlo. There's the teleport in from Wildcard. Infernal Soul picked up by Dignitas, and here comes Acadian. Luke flashes away, but it's not gonna be enough, and Acadian actually didn't find the kill. Hell yeah, Daption. Good defensive work there.
That blown away. Yeah, Daption pulling his weight there. Wildcard pulling their weight there. We talked about it. I said I expected Wildcard to be able to contend. Maybe not in game one. The stats have already accumulated, but definitely across this series. And I think you see a very good case for there. That was an incredibly good team fight, and it very nearly pays off for them. Fortunately for the Wildcard fans, it does look like this is going to be a game 2 sort of series, as Dignitas do complete the Infernal Soul and turn towards the Baron successfully.
This should be the last push of the game, essentially.
Check this out!
Yeah, this is so sick.
So, okay, this is the turn. We don't catch Spawn going low, but Daption's still doing incredible work. Team Luke goes right into the midst of that fight and provides a ton of the damage onto Yasui. Quacker's there. It's really good body blocking for Xeno. And then they make the right call when Lorlo comes in. They say, okay, we're gonna try and get full HP on one of our members as well, more importantly, mana as well. But during that time, just the dragon is being burned so fast that Lorlo is able to step up and find a kill.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Wildcard. Obviously, fantastic play from Dignitas Academy all throughout, but I feel like Wildcard did a great job fighting back. You know, they found these plays that if they had been one less dragon down, this game would still be easily in their hands.
100%. I mean, if they, you know, lost one fewer of those early game skirmishes, Spawn dies there, and that fight goes entirely different. They were 1 HP away from 2 very important kills.
As it is, though, Dignitas continue to push forward. Beautiful game thus far with those chain ganks mid. 3 deaths in a row onto Xeno, and that sort of set the pace for the game. Allowed Dignitas to keep snowballing through this mid laner, through this jungler combo.
And Acadian and Lorlo, the duo that kind of turned that fight, have been so good across this series, or across this first game. I suppose that is this series.
So far,
thus far. But they've been so good across this first game. Lorlo in particular getting bullied out of lane, but not dying, being able to stabilize. Now pushing for the game end.
There goes Daption, finds the 2-man knockup, but it won't be enough. Onslaught of Shadows into the backline. Double kill so far for Spawn. Sliver of health, but Killer Instinct will save him for the time being. Quacker goes golden, gets pushed back under the turret. That's all she wrote for Quacker. Team Luke still firing away. Finds Spawn. May have stopped the push.
Yeah, very, very good play on that team fight from Team Luke. Stays alive throughout it, but the turret does fall. Dignitas will reset. Spawn, I was getting to him. I was talking about Lorlo playing so safe in lane, but Spawn has been doing a really good job. I introduced him as kind of a very rock-solid AD carry, and you see this here. Just able to sit at the back of these fights and pump out damage, not taking any risks, playing safe in the back, and then once turret aggro is on them, once Spawn is about to die, using that Killer Instinct, very heads-up play to stay alive, gets the turret as well. The majority of the damage onto it was Spawn's towards the end now.
Did find the turret, but did not find the inhibitor, and that's really the key point so far here for Wildcard's favor. Dignitas, have I think another minute or 2 on this Baron buff? Nope, another second or 2, and I would have looked like a genius. But the Baron buff has fallen, so great defense by Wildcard. Only losing that inhibitor there, inhibitor tower even, is fantastic.
It's the replays. You go into a replay and you lose all sense of time.
Yeah.
You just shift into the alternate replay dimension. And you're like, how long has this Baron been going for? Like 30 seconds.
It's actually why my camera is darker than yours, TJ. I'm in the replay dimension.
Oh my god. I thought I was a replay of you when you had hair.
Ah, mine was never quite that long and blonde. It was brunette and curly.
Alright, well I'll work on it.
Okay.
The hairdresser soon. Alright, Lorlo in trouble in the mid lane. This is actually huge for Wildcard, but Acadian comes around the side. Quacker in trouble as well. Has to pop the Dominus defensively. Will be feared. Quacker with the flash. Over the wall. He gets away.
Go! Quacker finds the way out of there. Getting yeeted out into the side and then dashing over the wall. So Wildcard, again, another defense. And I feel like for Dignitas, you just have to keep the pressure on, wait for the next objective. You've got Elder Dragon in a minute, you're golden. Baron 40 seconds after that. If you really want to dot the I's and cross the T's, head for both.
Yeah, I think you know, that was a really good swing from Wildcard, and I'm not going to stop praising them because they are behind. Because that is, like, the kind of opportunity they need to find literally exactly when they needed it, because if they had found a kill there, it could have turned into either of these major objectives. As is, they do not, and now they've got to move quickly, because, like you say, Dignitas still the de facto owners of these two very important game-ending buffs.
There we go, Yasui in with a little bit of damage. Does have the Muramana completed, will help with the damage. Lorlo finds the stun. There's the chase down from Spawn and the assassination onto Quacker. 13 seconds for that Elder Dragon. Dignitas could just find it and end the game. Oh, I love this from Wildcard, the shove in to dissuade them.
I don't think it's going to pay off, though. Acadian comes around the side. This is a huge 2v2 from Acadian and Spawn at the bottom side of the map. They grab Team Luke. They'll grab Panda as well as Lorlo swings down in the top side. It's not going any better for Wildcard. They do have another fair 2v2 here. Xeno's been, you know, hiding behind Daption, but they're losing ground, and now they do not have the players to contest either of these objectives.
No contest coming out just yet, but hey, Wildcard have made a crazy defense before. Maybe they'll be able to make it again. So Dignitas really need to work after they pick up this Elder Dragon to shove it down to end the game there. You don't want to give Wildcard any more time, because the later we go, the less that 10k gold is going to matter. That sounds ridiculous. I'm fully aware, but it's 32 minutes in. Dignitas have been in the driver's seat for 16 minutes.
Matt, I refuse to discuss any gameplay past the 14-minute mark. We're not going that long. I refuse. Especially with
You said that before, and then we had a 51-minute game, so I don't know.
Especially with the Elder picked up, especially with the Baron on its way. I do think Wildcard, despite some really good efforts in the latter half of this game, are about to be tied up with a neat little bug.
7-1 on Spawn. I've not really been paying attention to Spawn in these team fights, because a lot of the times
stable.
It's just... Yeah. I mean, that's what we talk about whenever we mention Spawn. It's just like, yeah, really consistent AD carry, hanging out, doing their job. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Spawn, but now 7-1 just because these team fights have been going so well. JJ's been setting up fantastic engages in Peel as well.
When we saw Spawn, you know, a year ago in Challengers Uprising, you know, when he was playing on an amateur team, we were always talking up Spawn's ability on characters like Aphelios. He's a really good team-fighting AD carry because he knows how to position correctly in the team fights and just constantly be providing damage.
Dignitas, this should be their final push into the base of Wildcard. Lorlo forced to stride breaker defensively, but not all that scary is Panda right now. 2 inhibitors taken down already. Maybe pushing in. Final team fight. There's the Everfrost from both mid laners. 3-man dive onto Xeno, and he just gets blown up. There goes Quacker. Double kill for Yasui. Dive in beneath the fountain. Finds a third. Team Luke gets shut down by the Elder Dragon, and Dignitas Academy will find game number 1.
Yeah.
Guys,
oh
no!
my god! Into the fountain! With the Elder Drake. They do make it happen. Dignitas complete the record. Pad their stats. We'll take a hard-fought game 1, which wasn't the direction I thought that game was going. You know, if you tell me at the 15-minute mark we're going 30-plus minutes and they're going to need an Elder to close that out, I would have been very impressed with Wildcard, and I still am. That's what I found out later. Wildcard really bringing the damage into the second half of that game.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how well they were able to hold on to what was essentially a doomed game for a while because of how well Dignitas had snowballed the first, like, 20 minutes.
I want to also talk about that Silas in mid lane, Yasui. Obviously the benefactor of Acadian, because Acadian really takes over that game. And Yasui is obviously the benefactor of that, but I want to make sure we don't lose the context of he reinvested that lead. You know, he built Dark Seal level 1. He said, I'm going to get like 3 kills here in the mid lane. And he absolutely did, and they win the first couple of fights because of that. Yasui is a huge part of the early lead that Dignitas get. Him and Acadian, I think, really set the pace, and that's very important when, you know, Lorlo is losing when they don't have an instant lead in the bot lane, but obviously Acadian's able to bring that lead from mid down towards the bot lane and start building their advantages across the map. So I really do want to give a huge shout out and huge praise going into game 2 towards Acadian, who's able to step up and play that aggressive style he's known for.
Yeah, Acadian bringing that aggression once again. We'll see if it can transfer into game number 2 and find Dignitas the 2-0, or if Wildcard will bite back. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+, as well as Discovery+, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.